the first time I heard someone crying inside the walls of our house. My parents told me I imagined it, but I knew I didn't. Because the crying sounded real. Like, really real. And honestly, that was the moment I should have realized something was horribly wrong with my family. My name is Nora, and about a year ago, my parents suddenly announced we were moving into my grandmother's old mansion after she mysteriously disappeared. And yes, before you ask, that already sounds suspicious. But at the time, I didn't think much about it, because nobody in my family ever talked about my grandmother. Like, ever. Anytime I asked questions about her growing up, my mom would immediately change the subject, and my dad would act uncomfortable. So honestly, by the time we moved into her house, I barely even remembered she existed. The mansion itself was terrifying. Not cute spooky, not cozy spooky, like actual horror movie spooky. Huge empty hallways, dust everywhere, portraits staring at you from the walls, and the house constantly made noises at night. Creaking, whispering sounds, footsteps upstairs, even when nobody was there. At least, that's what my parents claimed. The weirdest part? My parents acted nervous the second we moved in. Not stressed, nervous, like they didn't want to be there. My dad kept checking the locks constantly, and my mom would randomly look out the windows at night like she expected somebody to be watching us. At first, I thought maybe they were just creeped out by the house too. But then, weird things started happening, like objects moving by themselves. Not paranormal stuff, just moved. I'd leave books on my desk and find them stacked differently later. Doors I know I closed would suddenly be open, and sometimes I'd wake up and my bedroom window would already be unlocked. Honestly, the house made me feel watched, especially the upstairs hallway. There was one specific hallway near the attic that made my stomach hurt every time I walked near it, and at the end of that hallway was a locked door. A huge, dark wooden door with 3 different locks on it. Naturally, I asked my parents what was inside. Worst mistake ever. Because the second I asked, their faces changed completely.
Nothing.
Nothing. She said it way too fast. And when I kept asking questions, my dad suddenly got angry,
You are never allowed in there.
which obviously made me more curious. I mean, come on. You can't put a creepy locked door in a giant mansion and then expect me not to think about it. After that conversation, things got worse. Because now I started noticing things I hadn't before, like how my parents whispered constantly at night, or how my mom would randomly cry in the kitchen when she thought I wasn't looking, or how every single family photo in the house mysteriously started after I turned 5 years old. There were no baby photos, no toddler photos, nothing. At first, I thought maybe older pictures were lost during moving or something, but then one night, I found one, completely by accident. I couldn't sleep because of the storm outside, so I went downstairs to get water. And while I was walking through the library, lightning suddenly flashed through the windows. That's when I noticed it. A photograph partially sticking out from underneath one of the bookshelves. I picked it up slowly, and my entire body went cold. Because the picture showed a little girl around 3 years old, standing beside my grandmother, inside the same mansion. And the little girl looked exactly like me. Same eyes, same hair, same tiny scar near the eyebrow. It was me. Except, I didn't remember that picture being taken. And written on the back in faded ink were the words, "Happy birthday, Nora, age 3. I literally couldn't breathe. Because according to my parents, we had never been to this house before moving in. So how was there a childhood photo of me inside it? At first, I tried convincing myself there had to be some explanation. But deep down, I already knew there wasn't. The next morning, I showed the picture to my mom. I've never seen someone panic that fast before. The second she saw it, she ripped it out of my hands immediately.
Where did you find this?
Not what is that? Not where did that come from? Just pure panic. That's when I realized something terrifying. She already knew the picture existed. After that, my parents became insanely protective. Like weirdly protective. They stopped letting me leave the house alone. They kept checking where I was constantly, and one night, I even woke up to hear them arguing downstairs.
We should have left years ago.
I couldn't do it.
At that point, I was done pretending things were normal, because clearly something insane was happening, and somehow it involved me. A few nights later, everything changed. I woke up around 2 a.m. because I heard crying again. Not outside, inside the house. Soft crying, coming from behind the walls. At first, I tried ignoring it, but then I heard something else. A voice. An old woman whispering.
Nora.
I froze instantly because there was no way. No way somebody just said my name. Then I heard it again.
Nora, help me.
I grabbed my flashlight so fast my hands were shaking. And somehow, instead of running away like a smart person, I followed the sound. Through the dark hallway, past the portraits, toward the locked attic hallway. The crying got louder the closer I got. And suddenly, I noticed something strange near the bookshelf beside the locked door. Scratches on the floor, like it had been moved before. My heart was pounding so hard it hurt. But I pushed the bookshelf anyway. And behind it was another door, a hidden one. I swear my entire body went numb. Because behind the hidden door was a staircase leading underground. And yes, at that point I should have turned around. But I didn't. Because now I needed answers. The basement tunnel was freezing cold. The walls were concrete. Old pipes ran along the ceiling. The deeper I walked, the more it felt like the house itself was hiding something alive. Then finally, I reached another door, and I heard crying behind it. Real crying. I slowly opened the door and screamed. Because sitting inside the room was my grandmother. Alive. She looked weak, thin, terrified, but alive. The second she saw me, she started crying harder.
Oh my God, you look just like your mother.
I froze. Because obviously she meant my mom, right? Except then she said something that completely destroyed my entire reality.
Your real mother.
I felt like the floor disappeared underneath me. What? My grandmother grabbed my hands tightly. 20 years ago, my parents kidnapped me. Not strangers. My parents. The people who raised me. Apparently, my biological mother was my grandmother's daughter. And after a huge family fight over inheritance money, my father and mother took me and disappeared. They changed cities, changed documents, changed everything. And because my biological mother died in a car accident only a year later, nobody kept searching, except my grandmother. I literally couldn't process what I was hearing, because that would mean the people upstairs weren't my real parents. Not legally, not biologically, nothing. And suddenly, everything made sense. The missing childhood photos, the nervous behavior, the locked room, the crying. They weren't protecting me from the house. They were protecting their secret. Apparently, my grandmother secretly found us months ago and threatened to expose them. So my parents brought her to the mansion and locked her underground until they figured out what to do. I felt sick, like genuinely sick. Because how do you even react to something like that? Your whole life suddenly becoming fake? But then somehow, things got even worse. Because suddenly I heard footsteps upstairs, fast footsteps, and then
Nora?
my grandmother grabbed my arm instantly.
Run.
I don't even remember thinking. I just ran, up the stairs, through the hallway, while my dad screamed my name behind me. That was the scariest moment of my life. Because for the first time ever, I realized I was afraid of my own father. I managed to lock myself inside the library and call the police. And when they arrived, everything finally fell apart. The hidden room, the fake documents, the lies, all of it got exposed. And the craziest part? Even after everything, my mom cried harder than anybody when they took her away. Because despite all the lies, I think she really did love me, in her own twisted way. A few months later, I officially moved in with my grandmother, and slowly, I started learning the truth about who I actually was. My real family, my real childhood, my real name. Turns out, my name was never Nora. It was Eleanor. Sometimes I still don't know which part hurt more. Finding out my parents kidnapped me, or realizing the people I loved most, never really belonged to me at all.